Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the 80K Woods Walker channel. I'm Jay. Today's the first day of spring, so Korra and I are hitting the trails. I'm going to share with you some tips and tricks for spring hiking. Stick around. Spring is a great time to get out on the trails, especially if you've been cooped up all winter long. The sun is out for longer, it's warmer, you can watch the forest come alive, but there are a few things that you should really pay attention to and be aware of before you hit the trails. The first thing to remember is that springtime is a shoulder season, and that can mean that although it's really nice and sunny when you hit the trail, the weather can change like that. It can become terrible. You can have snow, rain, freezing temperatures, and everything in your trip will turn bad quick. So it's very important to keep the 10 essentials in your pack and make sure you have your puffy in there, a raincoat, some food, emergency shelter, a way to filter water, some first aid stuff, and a way to start a fire. These are important all the time, but especially in these shoulder seasons where if you have to spend a night outside, it could be very uncomfortable or deadly. Another thing to remember, even though the snow has mostly melted in the lowlands and the flatlands, when you gain elevation, you are still going to run into a good amount of snow and ice. So it's important to pack your traction devices. Keep your micro spikes and crampons and snowshoes with you up until, end of May, June, because you never know what kind of ice and snow you're going to run into at the top of a mountain. Another important tip about ice and snow is that even if you are in the lowlands, you may run into some on the trail, especially in the northern side of mountains and trails and things like that, where the sun is just not getting to them yet. Please pay attention to the snow and the ice that you're going to walk on. You never know how much water has run underneath and has created a huge gap. So you could step on what looks like solid snow and ice and fall right through and get injured. So be aware, be careful, and be prepared to help yourself if you get hurt. One more thing to note about trails in the springtime, you are very likely going to run into a mess. There hasn't been enough time for trail crews to clean out any winter blowdowns, but more likely you're going to run into mud. And lots of it, especially here in the Northeast. Here's the deal. When you run into mud on the trail, you are supposed to walk right straight through it. If you can find hard surfaces like rocks or logs to step on, that's great, cool, no problem. But if you walk around the mud, you're just going to further contribute to trail erosion. And that is a huge problem here in the Northeast, especially in the Adirondacks. And we want to try and do our best. So, don't wear your nice shoes. Don't plan on having dry feet. Just hit the mud, plow right through it, laugh about it later. You're gonna get muddy, you're gonna get wet, but you're also gonna have a great time. Make sure you plan for that accordingly though, because when you get back to the car, you're probably gonna want a second pair of footwear to wear to Stewie's or wherever you're gonna go get a beer or a sandwich. Another safety concern to be aware of in springtime hiking are your water crossings. Springtime brings a lot of melt from the higher elevations down to the lower elevations, so our brooks, our creeks, our streams, they just get overflowing with fast moving water. So when you're out hiking, If you have a water crossing and you go over it in the morning, you're going to notice the water is slower and more gentle. And then when you come back in the afternoon, there's a very good chance that this small little brook could be a raging river. It's very important to take caution, make sure you're able to assess where you're going to cross, move up and down the stream to look for a better area to cross, and do simple things like unclip your pack belts and snaps, so that if you do fall in, you can shimmy out of your pack and more easily self-rescue. Water crossings are super dangerous, and I don't want anybody to get hurt, so make sure that you're paying attention and you make decisions based off of how many water crossings you're going to need to come back to at the end of your day. One more thing to be aware of when you're out on the trails in the spring is you may run into some animals. You may run into some nesting animals. You may run into some cute little baby animals. This is all very likely because the spring is the time for renewal. It is so important to remember that you have to leave them alone. Admire them from a distance. There's no good reason for getting really close. You don't need the Instagram photo. You don't need the video for YouTube. You need to leave the baby animals alone. They need to grow. If you mess with them, their parents may actually abandon them, and it would prevent them from surviving. So, very key. Also, if you have a dog with you and they have a very strong prey drive, very similar to Miss Korra here, it's important to keep control of them. So we all got to do our best and make sure that springtime rejuvenation and new life happens undisturbed. That just about does it for Korra and me today. Yes, that information may have seemed basic for some of you, but springtime is great because there's a lot of brand new hikers on the trail. New hikers, if you're nervous about getting out into the backcountry or going and climbing those strenuous high peaks, just get yourself ready by checking out your local nature preserves. That's what Korra and I are doing today, making sure our legs are in good shape, make sure the pack is ready, just having a good time. It's all about making sure you have a safe, happy, healthy hiking season. If you found any value in this video, go ahead and click that thumbs up button. If you like outdoor adventure content, please consider subscribing to the channel, but most importantly, I hope that we've inspired you to get outside and do something awesome. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.